Hi, James. How are you? How's it going
Hi,
today?
it's pretty good, thank you. A lot
Well,
of
good,
talking.
good. I'm so thrilled to be able to talk about this film. I have no words. I didn't even want to start here, but I'm going to start here. I saw the film at the Toronto International Film Festival, and every time
I
I
was
talk
there.
about it, I have
Yeah,
goosebumps because at the end of the film, as you know, there was a Q&A, obviously, but
yeah.
one of the questions was, who in this audience here is here because of Nicholas Winton? And the amount of
Mm.
people who stood up, I just burst into tears. Like, I honestly couldn't take it. I don't know how you managed to get through making this film, to be honest with you. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Well, I remember. I mean, obviously, I was there at that screening you're describing, and I was there at the end as people stood and applauded, and I've always taken that applause, honestly, to be uh, less about the film and more about the story and Nicholas Winton. Um, I was so moved, and as I went on to the stage, I was near tears. And my confession to the audience is, look, this is part of a director's toolkit. I'm not going to apologize if I start sobbing here. This is how I create emotion is by feeling emotion and being able
Yes.
to empathize. Um, so yeah, there were a lot of tears shed during the making of this movie.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. When did this Nicholas's story come onto your radar? Did you know about him? Had you heard about what he did? And then decide to make the film? Tell me a little bit about the evolution.
I knew what most people knew, which was that rather extraordinary piece of television history from the 1980s
Yeah,
and the video clip that has survived since. And I think that's one of the great things. It works for movies that, oh, yeah, I sort of know that bit. It's a hook. And there's enough to make you want to dig deeper. And funnily enough, since I've been doing the movies, a couple of other filmmakers have said to me, yeah, I looked at it, but I always thought, well, there's 10 minutes. What's the other 90? Where's the rest of
right.
the movie? And they didn't go any further.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me, two producers, Ian Canning and Emil Sherman at Cecil Films, they dug deeper and they imagined, they must take the credit for it, not me. They imagined the rest of the movie and they came up with this idea of looking at the then and the now, the older man
Mm.
and how he lived his grief, the younger man, and how the Prague rescue was actually executed. Um, so managing to find a structure that worked between the two time periods became what intrigued me and brought me on board.
Yeah. And how involved was Nicholas's family? Were they at all? Did
Yeah,
you use
yeah.
them as reference? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, considerably. I mean, the producers first approached the family when Nicky was still alive, and they
Yeah.
talked to Nicky. And Nicky, of course, being the humble man he was, um, dismissed the idea. And anybody that needs to know about me and the story, they know already. There's nothing more to tell. It's not about me.
Yeah.
But Barbara, his daughter, was writing the biography, and she felt there was still a story to tell. There was still an important message to send out from that story. So she carried on, and she carried on after her father died. Um, when the writers became involved, again before my time, they even visited, they stayed at the house, at the family house. They spent a lot of time with Barbara, a lot of interaction with her and her husband, their children, who have become keepers of the Winton Memorial Trust.
Yeah.
Um, so we and even Helena Bonham Carter and Fionn, who played Barbara, were
Mm.
calling up Barbara herself and asking for advice deep into the prep of the shoot. Tragically, Barbara died
Yeah.
while we were filming.
Oh. Oh.
Literally, while the cast and crew were in the air on the way between London and Prague, she passed.
Mm.
She knew her time was coming. But yeah, I mean, the short answer to your question is a lot of involvement. I'm here in New York at the moment. We were screening the film last night in New York, and Nick Winton, Nicky's son, was at my side.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Oh, that's so nice. And then of course you get the fabulous Sir Anthony Hopkins to play him. And I mean, seriously, there's nothing that man can't do. Even that he remembers script and how he acts and what he still does at his age is beyond me. What surprised you about Sir Anthony Hopkins? Was there anything?
I, yes, there was. To be 84 as he was when we were shooting, and to have the energy and the freshness and the joy for every day of shooting.
Yeah,
You know, I suppose that's silly to be surprised by it, because otherwise, why would he keep doing it?
sure.
But to see somebody still rock up, because, you know, filming is a messy business. There's a lot of cars, there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of car parks, there's a lot of waiting around.
Yeah.
And he just still gets such a thrill and a buzz out of the process and creating. And that was thrilling.
Yeah, and then you have the wonderful Johnny Flynn playing Nicky as a younger man, and I'm wondering
Yes.
who was also terrific, by the way. And I'm wondering, did Johnny and Anthony spend any time together? Because obviously, when you're playing somebody who's younger, you have to get the mannerisms right. You want it to be,
Yeah.
a steady flow. Did they work together at all in terms of that?
Yes, they did. Yes, we enabled that. And for various reasons, and partly just out of respect to Anthony, he was doing his section of the movie first as one solid 2 week block. And what happened was that Johnny came along to those shooting days, and he sat on the edge of the set. He watched Tony, as he likes to be called, he watched Tony at work. And we had conversations all together. And there were little, because actors of that quality, they don't really, or these two don't like to impose nervous twitches or habits from the outside.
Right.
But this was an occasion where things like a gesture with the glasses, or a way of walking, or a little hesitation and stutter in the voice became part of the signature, part of the music that was Nicky's character.
Mm.
And Johnny, who is not the sort of actor who'd want to impose his version, was very, very generous in adopting what Tony'd done and then embracing it into his version of the performance. And I mean, honestly, they were so good together that they enabled us to switch between the 80s and the 30s much more than we intended to do, because you never bump on, you totally believe it's the same man.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I agree. James, with what's going on in the world right now, this is the perfect timing for this film to be released. There's no question. And I'm hoping people will watch it and take from his, what an extraordinary human being Nicky was. And I'm sure, there's other people like him in the world, but what he did was extraordinary. And so humble and just, you did it. You just didn't want anything in return. What are you hoping that audience will take from this, given with what is going on in the world right now?
Well, first, I just want to say, I would give anything for our film not to be so timely.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
we'd hate we'd hate for people to think that somehow we plan to release it now and catch the wind of
Oh
the
no, for
awful
sure. I
events.
wasn't meaning it that way, but just it is
No,
what it is.
I know you aren't. I know
Yeah.
you aren't for a moment, but
Yeah.
you understand my. Um, what do you take? It's so easy at the moment to just go, the world's too grim. I can't do anything about it. I'm going to
Yeah.
stick my head in the sand, keep on plowing my furrow, and screw everybody else
Yeah.
because everybody's messing it up. Um, what Nikki's lesson is look, you don't have to solve everything, but do your bit, do the decent thing. And he talked about this idea of active goodness, which is, it's not enough to say I'm being good if you're
Mm.
not doing good. And it's do whatever little bit you can. It can be very local. Um, and I'm saying it, I keep feeling like I'm a Sunday school preacher the moment I say this, but
Yeah.
um, it's it's about being aware. It's about having the right conversations. It's about giving that little bit you can, and not expecting you to take in 20 refugees, but just seeing how you can be aware and share in the discussion.
Yeah. 100%. Just before I wrap, I got to say, on a personal note, you have given me pretty much all of the TV shows that I love watching. My goodness, you've worked on so many great ones, but I got to tell you, I am a Black Mirror fanatic. I cannot get enough of that show. What was it like to work on the couple of episodes that you did? They're like mini movies in a way, but
There are
what
many
a
movies.
thrill.
Yeah. Oh no, it's crazy. I mean, Charlie Brooker is a genius.
Yeah.
You then end up with, as I did, somebody like Kelly MacDonald or Andrew Scott. Um,
Oh, Andrew, that was like
and
really seriously one of my all-time faves.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you find yourself having discussions about what do robot bees look like,
Yeah.
and and Yeah, Andrew Scott. It's a performance piece. They're incredibly focused. We don't have long to make them, but they are mini movies and they're passion projects, and they all have such a distinct signature to them.
Yeah.
They really are unlike anything else. It's been interesting to see quite a few movies, big screen movies released in the last couple of years, which are effectively trying to be Black Mirror on the big screen.
Yeah.
And nothing for me has quite made it. Anyway, I'm just going to grab that phone. I think that's us wrapping anyway.
Okay, well, thank you so much for everything and for this lovely, lovely film. It's beautiful, and I really do appreciate your time today. Thank you so much, James. Have a great weekend.
It's lovely
Thank you, Bonnie.
to talk with you. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.